Hey, good afternoon now. It's a crazy haired one. Again, this one is for Eastside Portland Air Coalition. It's a Facebook group I've been in for a very long time. And those people, those folks got together and helped get, I'm forgetting, Euroboros Glass Company, forced them through the legal system, through public shaming, forced Euroboros to put at least a reasonable filter system on their Portland plant. Now, so what was happening was the glass that they were melting had heavy metals in it. The heavy metals get vaporized in the furnace, and the furnace releases it into the atmosphere, and the spread of particulate matter begins, right? Now, this company had been doing this for a long, long time. It was just business as usual. And if you go back into the states trying to respond to environmental issues, what you'll find is they kind of got grandfathered. Because they were there, because they were doing, they kind of got ignored. Now I'm a granddad, I'm a proud granddad, but this word grandfathered is insidious inside of politics, and leaving this old shit out to hang instead of closing it and getting rid of it. It's insidious in our legal system and our political structures. So it leaves trash hanging around that isn't cool. But specifically, this was Euroboros. Now, the reason it matters is that company is a global company. That company has to follow rules of the country its facilities are in. And this one happened to have facilities in Europe. And Europe, the European Union, has very real reasoned pollution laws. This is why Brexit happened, is our corporations hate rules unless they can make them and play with them. So anyway, a bunch of good people got together and raised some noise about Euroboros to politics. And politics got involved and got jumped right in there after being shoved and shamed, and did a little bit about it and then left it. So Euroboros got invested money they should have decades ago, and they knew. They knew because they adhered with these rules. They adhered with these rules in other nations. They knew why the bag houses and why the filter houses are important to the neighborhoods that they operate in. So yeah, big shame on the owners of Euroboros, or if it was any glass company. So now the same organization has got another, what I would think is a hot one, is deep groundwater contamination from another business. The business's pollution was grandfathered in, so nobody had to pay attention to it. All this costs a lot of money. It impacts the price of whatever goods these businesses are making. But honestly, it's pennies. Because when they make somebody sick out in the neighborhood, that's tens of hundreds or millions of dollars of harm. Hospitals get built to respond to these things if somebody is paying attention to cause and effect. The real cause here is the interactions of federal and state agencies and how they work together. Euroboros was stumbled upon because the United States Geological Service was doing surveys in the area, a federal organization. The federal organization took it back to their labs and sent information to a state organization. 3 months, 6 months, a year after It was found 2 years after it was found, after the lawyers have gone through it. So this is the lawyers involved, the legal system involved in something they honestly know very little about unless they're a specialist. And there are specialists we can't afford. So it is not, this is what's getting us, is legacy pollution, leftovers from other times, the unseens. And the challenge is these are seen. We do know about them. We don't talk about them. We're talking about the latest, best something else, right? And yet a whole city drinking water supply can be contaminated and poisoning. Some percentage of the city can get very nasty diseases, very expensive diseases, very resource-consuming diseases, disabled at home with your family watching you collapse and fade away. This is the real life of pollution. This is the other half of it, not the political side. So how do you make organizations, institutions work? And it is very apparent that one political party seems not to believe in much of any organization except for theirs. The other political party is torn between a paycheck and a hard place because there's not a whole lot of jobs out here for politicians. Anyway, pollution pathways, persistence, biological pathways, uptake pathways, introduction into the environment around us. It's not, I've spoken about the human genome, which is a major concern with nuclear follies. The decay products of nuclear, most all are still heavy metals. They are not good for you. So even if it doesn't give you cancer, it might leave a speck of lead in your body that is not going to do any good for you either. And how many specks of lead can your body tolerate? So more drinking water worries. These are the bigger issues out there. Countries are trying to ban single-use plastic bottles, which is admirable. Something needs to be done, right? But Canada, for instance, wants to do this, but the First Nations' only drinking water comes from those bottles because the white folks around them have polluted their environment. The tan folks, the brown folks, the blue folks around them have polluted the environment. The worker that went to work there enabled this for a paycheck to live. Big cycles, big long cycles. New paper out about sun cycles and what causes sun cycles. Those 11-year solar cycles that people talk about, why they ebb and flow. And planetary alignment is one aspect of it, but not the whole aspect. So, because underneath that 11-year cycle is a larger cycle. There's probably a few larger cycles. So we're on the ride. We're going to go find out. Anyway, this one really was made for the folks in that Facebook group, but this is where I'm going to do my business. So thank you all that listen. I don't know how to get together to fix those big process things. We're batting at 50 things that are potentials here individually when it should be. We could even get into how Portland is structuring some of these endeavors in pollution, because Portland has a large initiative going along with the state, along with the federal government. There's funding and dollars for things, and we don't know what. But bombs aren't going to help. Bombs will not solve these problems. Bombs will not make it safer for future generations.